for Dr. Rademaker's prescription for transformation. Let's tap into your own authentic genius and live the life you desire.
You are now listening to
Join Dr. Rademaker for an enlightened conversation about our brain intelligence, our body intelligence, and our energy intelligence. And now, here's your host, Dr. Bart Rademaker.
I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation. Real people, real conversations, and real success. Super excited to be back again. It's been way too long. This hiatus has been terrible because I've been doing awesome things. And unfortunately, I've gone to parts of the world where reception isn't that great. And therefore, trying to coordinate a radio show has been very challenging. Or maybe that's just my excuse to say, you know what, I'm just going to enjoy myself on this trip and not worry about the technicality of this show. And quite frankly, you know, it just seems that every show that I have, there's some sort of technical issues. And I just lost my my guest. I don't know where she's going. So maybe she's going to be the wild card today. I don't know. She's pretty wild herself. But anyhow, what is this really all about? And thank you, Robin, for taking care of me these last couple of weeks when I've been gone and doing some shows again. But the truth of the matter is this, is that, you know, what is life really all about? You know, life is where we get to expand. We go through this journey. We do all sorts of things through life. And we have all these incredible, you know, achievements if you're lucky, if you're out there, if you're ambitious, or if not, it doesn't matter. But in one form or another, you're accomplishing things in life. The question is, how wonderful is it if you're just doing it yourself? So being in a relationship is perhaps one of the best things that we can ever experience. And, you know, the key is what kind of relationship is it? You know, is it one that you would tell you the rest of the world, you know, it's the most amazing thing that's happening to me? Or is it one of those that you say, you know what, I'm looking at the door and seeing how I can escape it? The truth of the matter is that if we're really honest with ourselves, you know, if we genuinely and authentically went into a relationship thinking that, you know, this is the one, this is going to be awesome, this is going to be great, then whatever happened? Because it didn't last. And so there's a secret behind this. And so today is about unraveling some of those secrets. And I'm very excited to be introducing Anastasia, an amazingly beautiful, wonderful, dynamic person who's also a coach, a relationship coach. And I just recently met her in Fiji. And so really excited about her perspectives and her story about how it is that she came to where she is today, and to help you find some new ideas that can dramatically change and make your relationship, you know, so much better. So Anastasia, thank you for joining me today, and Robin, thank you, because we'll hear about you as well. But Anastasia, thank you.
You're welcome. I hope everybody can hear me perfectly, because I'm calling you guys now, or I'm talking to you from the future, because I live in Sydney, so we're a little bit ahead. So like, as my husband currently, he lives in America, so we have a personal joke that he's always like, oh, I'm calling my wife from the future.
Well, the cool thing is that, you know, if we're in the past, or maybe, you know, you can make all the mistakes first and we'll just learn from you. How's that?
Well, I think actually the reason of this podcast, or how it's all happened, because I've learned from my own mistakes, and that's why I'm so passionate about relationships. Because before my 4 years of happy marriage, I already had 13 years of unhappy ones. But it was a beautiful, beautiful foundation to know what can I do differently. You know, to not feel guilty about the things I've done, but to show up and to step up as a new woman, you know, who can bring something to a relationship, rather than to have expectations, you know, criticism and demands. To be honest, like maybe like 6 years ago, I still remember the time when I was driving to my apartment that didn't feel like home. I don't know if somebody of you can relate to that. When you do have a roof above your head, but you don't have a home, when the relationship you live in the same apartment, but you feel energetically divorced, even if you're like technically married. And I was trying so hard to do things, to implement, and grow and learn. And I guess everything became an experience that now I can build on. And so I'm so excited, out of my mind, to share with you things that I wish I knew 6, 7, 10 years ago, or ideally before I got married. I just like, currently I'm writing a book, which is I'm calling it a law of relationships, because like I wish this book or this codex was given to every couple before they get married, so then they could avoid the simple mistakes. Now I have couples from different nationalities, different age group, but believe it or not, the pattern of their relationships, especially unhappy ones and also happy ones, is exactly the same.
Well, let me ask you this question, and let me just make a statement because perhaps, you can be so grateful to the failure of the last relationship because now you found this amazing guy that really compliments you in a wonderful way. And had it not been for that, maybe you would never found him. But I'll let you answer that one later on. What I do want to know is two things. Because you mentioned at one point that, it didn't feel like at home. And so I'd like to hear from you. What was that about? What was it about the situation or the meaning that you gave it that didn't make it like it felt like at home? And what is it that you want? Was that temptation there that you just wanted to run? Sounds like you really wanted to make it work, but at the same time, maybe you want to run. And then what I'd like to do is after you answer that question, go back as to how you got in the relationship in the first place.
Well, why didn't I feel at home? To start like answering this question first, as Tony Robbins mentions on his Platinum trip, there are 3 C's that all women should do to kill the relationship or to scare the guy away. I was doing all 3 of them at the level of high distinction. I could have been getting like PhD. These 3 C's are criticize, close your heart, and control. So I tried to control my man. My heart was closed when I was upset, and I was criticizing, but I didn't think I was criticizing. I thought he's just like a hairy woman who needs my coaching. And the thing is, I still do the same things, but I do it in a different way. When he wants to do the things, when he is inspired to do these things, and when my intention is actually pure, because like I didn't feel good enough about myself, and I kept comparing my ex-husband to my father all the time. So I didn't even give him a chance to be good enough. Rather than appreciating and honoring my man and being there and asking questions like, what do I do that you feel loved? And being there as a supportive woman, my expectations were up here. And he could never be that because he wasn't that guy. So, and then I realized I actually couldn't connect to him as his masculine essence because I wanted him to be somebody he wasn't. But
Right.
I was too busy in my own head, not even trying to see like what is his essence and connecting to his essence, to his soul. I
So,
was, my understanding was completely different about the
so
relationships.
what you're really telling me is it's all your fault, and I'm saying that
Uh,
with tongue in cheek.
I think that it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
But coming to back to your second question,
Well, no,
when I was
before you answer that one, and I just said that with tongue in cheek, obviously, because we all have our own personal role in all relationships. But it's what I want to acknowledge you right now, and I think this is a very important part, and that is that you've taken full ownership of what it was that you did. And I think that's one of the first and key things that we all have to do is recognize, what is my part in this dynamic? And there is no such failure unless you learn. And so I used that word early on, tongue in cheek as well, play on words, because I know you. You're incredibly dynamic. But you're also an incredibly powerful woman, and I really want to recognize that part because, and Robin, you are too, by the way. But you're an incredibly powerful woman, and you have this beautiful way to remain very feminine. And this is a thing that I'm hoping that men and women out there begin to recognize that, for a woman to be powerful, right, you don't have to be masculine. And for a man to be sensitive, you don't have to be feminine. And what's happening way too often, and as to expand on what you just shared, is that relationships fall apart because of what they call loss of polarity. So the masculine gets closer to the feminine, and now you're like blah, the same. And it's not exciting anymore. And what you just said with the 3 C's, which is the criticizing, the closing, and the control, what's happening is that kills the polarity. And I just wanted to expand on that. So I really want to honor both of you for being powerful women that I have tons of respect for, but also you're incredibly feminine. And I have the fortune to be also married to a very powerful woman that's also incredibly feminine. Back to you, Anastasia.
It's a great distinction because in my first marriage, I was a bodybuilding champion and he was drinking alcohol. So my thought process was like, oh, I'm living with a drunk. And I was so focused about money, all I could care about is actually, I thought if I make myself $1 million, I'll be happy for life. That and my toxic relationship, it doesn't matter. So that's a thought process I had before because I was living in scarcity. And partially because when I was 24 years old, my parents, my grandmother especially, I love her to death or to life. She told me, "You're 24. Nobody wants you. At least have a kid for yourself. Come on, you're an old maid, 24. Come on." Because in Russia, my mom and my dad, they all got married when they were 20. Right. So when I was 24, it's like I was way beyond my youth. And then I remember I was at 25 when I got married for the reasons pretty much not to be alone and to have a child. And especially it was the times when I was arguing with my dad. I was here in Australia by myself, 24 years old, on my own. I came to Australia, no family, nobody. My parents having a fight with me. I'm pregnant at that time. And so my parents don't talk to me at all. I'm pregnant and I'm with a guy. And he's like, "Look, I love you. Let's make it work." And he had a beautiful soul. But because I didn't give him the significance, I didn't give him the love and connection every human being deserves, he found his significance and his vices in whatever he was doing every day. And so rather than killing monster when it's little, we basically grew a Godzilla between us. So, and then it was harder and harder to communicate because we were so self-obsessed. And because I was self-obsessed, I was suffering. And, I looked healthy, competing in bodybuilding, being a fitness model, I had my trophies, but I wasn't healthy. Or shall I say, I looked fit, but I wasn't healthy. Because I developed my bulimia then, I was judging other people, I wasn't really happy, and and I was a very masculine woman. I had fake lashes, fake hair, fake nails, and I couldn't understand why my relationship was not real. And I thought that was beautiful.
Right.
And the thing is, it's my whole focus changed. You've seen me when I was leading, when we worked in Fiji together, and I remember I was talking to my team, and they no makeup, no hair, and but you're so passionate. And then they come to you, wow, you're so beautiful, your inner light, your energy, that is so beautiful. And you can understand that what is really beautiful.
Right.
And what is really attractive, what is really meaningful. And then I know that I wake up for a reason. Because when participants come to the event, I see their eyes. But then at the end of the event, after they learn about relationships, about their health, about their fitness, their eyes light up. And this is the best feedback you can possibly ask for.
Right.
That's beautiful.
So I want to just add one thing and then jump to Robin for a moment, and that is this: is that I want the listeners to hear that we just attended an incredible event by Tony Robbins. The guy is amazing. The guy's a genius and magician in transformation. And so he had this great event in Fiji, which is Life Wealth Mastery. And it's about health and it's wellness, and it's about intelligence of your body and also relationships. And Anastasia was one of the trainers and just did a phenomenal job in helping people with their personal transformation. And so I want to commend you on that. So I just want to jump to Robin because this beginning part is also recognizing not the failure, well, I guess the failure of relationships, not the failure in life, but the failure in relationships. And I know you have a story, Robin. And then after that, I'll share a little bit about my failures, if you will. And then we'll jump into Anastasia's perspectives of how we can make magic in a relationship. So go ahead, Robin.
Well, back in 2006, I married my last husband in February 14th, Valentine's Day. I wanted to give the holiday some validity because I myself don't believe in commercial Valentine's Day kind of thing. But I went through a lot of hell in that marriage, and I didn't even realize what was going on. And the 3 C's you guys were referring to was exactly what was going on in that relationship for 11 years, from him towards me. And I completely allowed him to control everything that was going on. I quit my career of 30 years of broadcasting, went into business with him. We made a very successful business, but the home life was horrific. And I thought by now I would have gotten my stuff together because at this point, I was writing my first book, which was about surviving domestic abuse from my early years, from my teenage years into my early 20s. But here I found myself again, almost 50 years old, being married to this guy of 11 years in this daily grind of him coming home and criticizing everything I tried to do. Right. If I tried to get myself back in shape and go to my private trainer, he was deliberately trying to sabotage everything, from eating things in front of me and saying negative things to me, and then using the scale every morning as a torture tool to me and playing games with me, mind games, trying to control everything. And I didn't realize I was in that state of mind with him again. And we do have to take responsibility because we're not responsible for what they say and do. We're only responsible in how we react to it and act accordingly. And a lot of times we get caught up in it because of the emotions. And I fell in love with this man after 2.5 years after my last husband had passed away from cancer. So I thought this was my shot at having this great love again. But the person I fell in love with didn't really exist, because within 1.5 years, he began to show me who he truly was. And like I said, it took 11 years for me to get away from him. And in September of this year, it will be 5 years that I have my divorce. So I'm very happy that I don't ever have to celebrate Valentine's Day again, because like I said, I never did in the first place, but I know how guys and girls are in the world of dating with that. And some people have expectations. I don't.
It's a Valentine's Day, I guess, is the poor man's way to be romantic. A wealthy, abundant man.
No.
What?
No, just no. By the way, happy Saint Valentine's Day.
No. Listen to me. Let me finish. No, let me finish. It's just like New Year's resolution. They just do it once a freaking year.
It should happen every day if you love somebody.
Yeah, romance needs to happen every day. And I need to remember that too. And quite frankly, my wife and I, we have a very unique ring. And it's actually like a piece of leather. And that piece of leather continually gets either lost or broken. And the reason that is that it's a reminder that we have work to do. It's a reminder that relationship is constant work. If you just buy this, glittery, ring and with all sorts of diamonds and gems, that's nice, but you kind of forget about it, I think. But having this piece of leather, right, wrapped around my finger, and I'm looking at it every day, and it's kind of falling apart, and it's a reminder, all right, I got to work on my relationship. So it's a metaphor of life. And that's why I feel, being romantic is something that, is not just once a year. And yeah, great. Valentine's is awesome. We just have to do it all the time. You go ahead, Anastasia. So I'll give you your turn.
No, the thing is, my husband gives me flowers like through the whole year. Especially when I travel, he sends me like 100 roses. Thanks God it's cheap in America. You can get like 100 roses for like $100. In Australia, it's like $900. So what we did today on a St. Valentine's Day, because my husband is not physically present with me, I spoke with Justin. He's doing it the fourth year this year in Canada. So they buy 200 roses and they're visiting aged care facilities. And they're giving it to basically to patients who are there who are single. And I'm creating now that movement in Sydney. So I ask all of my single girlfriends and all of my single, guys like today to contribute. And we are visiting 2 aged cares and 1 hospice and bringing 250 flowers to give like 1 flower each to a patient. And in one aged care we have 109 patients. And the woman, when I was asking her if it's okay if you do that, she said, "I have tears in my eyes just thinking about it."
Wow.
Like, thank you so. So I was just thinking that it's a beautiful reason, or it's a beautiful day, just a reminder that rather than, like giving, it's also it's not only about getting, but it's also about giving. So I'm so passionate just using these little holidays to brighten up somebody else's life. Because I don't have family in Australia at all. It's only my daughter. So on Christmas Day, I've got myself thinking like, oh wow, like I've got nobody to celebrate Christmas with. So like it's now 4th year I'm feeding people with disabilities every morning on Christmas. And my daughter joined me for the past 2 years. And the feeling you get from when you just see how their faces lit up, it just like you can't transfer it. And Justin told me in Canada when they came back to an aged care, they said there was a woman, she was talking about that particular rose for like 2 months. And he's like, oh wow, I would love to speak with her. And they were like, unfortunately she passed away. But but these things like that was so meaningful. And if you think about it, it's not about the rose so much, it's all about just sharing and sharing the love. So that's why, I don't know, I'm very passionate about St. Valentine's Day. Even in Russia, we don't celebrate it. They celebrate it in August, and we call it the Day of Marriage and Loyalty.
Wow. Well, Robin, I think you're going to have to reevaluate your position on Valentine's Day now.
Well, I don't want to have to get somebody a gift. They don't need to get me one either. Just spend time with me. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's important. I'm passionate. I want the time.
Right. Well, that's Anastasia. That's a beautiful thing, and I commend you for doing that, because a lot of souls are out there totally forgotten, and it's sad because they have families and their families have forgotten them. And it's one of the things I'm very proud of my origin in Holland, where the aged get extremely quality care. I mean, it's just unbelievable how older people are really taken care of. And it's a beautiful thing. And in fact, my mom, when she was getting older and she unfortunately had a bad car accident, and for the last 20 years of her life, she couldn't live on her own. She lived with me for a while, then my brother. But at the end of her days, she actually lived with her sister. And just the care for the elderly is just a beautiful thing. And so awesome that you're doing that, Anastasia, and perhaps something we can do over here. So I want to jump on just briefly. I had my failures too. I have to blame myself because I think I failed at the selection process more than anything else. And of course, as we're going to jump into in a minute, with Anastasia's perspectives on how to create and maintain a beautiful relationship, I just didn't have the tools. And one thing I just want to share before I hand it over to Anastasia, what's interesting about this is that there's some great books out there. One is Get the Love That You Want. Another one is Love and Respect. The first one is by Harville Hendrix. The other one is, I forget who that name is. And there's an incredible app called Lasting. And so these are tools that you can use to improve your relationship. And in a moment, I'm going to ask Anastasia, or later on, to share with us how we can contact her. But one thing that I found fascinating, and to relate to what Anastasia was saying earlier, and that is this. Per Harville Hendrix, the reason we choose our mate is because we recognize the things that we love in our parents, but we also recognize the unresolved conflicts in our parent as well. And that's what attracted us, because in this journey in life, we grow, we resolve our conflicts, and then we're stuck with the conflicts we haven't resolved, and we have to resolve them, even though it's an unconscious thing. And what's interesting is that after the honeymoon period, where it's all rosy and wonderful and everything else, because you're connected with all the things that you loved in the other parent, which is what this partner now has, then the stuff that wasn't resolved shows up. And unless you can resolve those things, your next relationship is not going to be a good one. Unfortunately, from talking with Anastasia, she's gone light years beyond that, and really now in a place to coach people. So tell us, Anastasia, what are your secrets, or what are your key distinctions, if you will, that people can easily understand and then implement in their relationships, so that they can begin to either restore a healthy relationship or make a healthy relationship even better?
Right. Thank you for the question. It's a beautiful, beautiful question, Bart. And I love how knowledgeable you are. And I also worked with you in Fiji, and I've seen you at work. I just wanted to acknowledge and give you the credit that you're a fantastic coach yourself.
Thank you.
And your work was beautiful. Coming back to the tools. So if you would like to have an extraordinary life, you have to have extraordinary rituals, and ask yourself, what do you do every day that is extraordinary? Same thing in relationship. What you do every day in your relationship, it presupposes if your relationship either growing or dying. So especially, I know a lot of people that are stuck in the relationship for way too long. So, and I suggest not to make my mistake, and give yourself 3 months. Or sign a pact of 90 days when you actually, there are 3 levels of relationships. The first level, it's all about me. Second level, it's transactional. If you do this, I do that. Third level, your needs are my needs. And I do things daily to light you up. And you have to see where you're playing at the moment. And also, does it make you feel fulfilled? So I know in my first marriage, it was a purely transactional. Like, if you do this, I do this. Now in my current relationship, his needs are my needs. Pretty much like he is my God, and I consider my mission is to serve him. So the questions I'm asking him: what do I do when you feel loved? What do I do when you feel disconnected? I communicate myself rather than taking an identity. I use a beautiful structure, communicating my feelings. For example, when you do this, I feel that. Like my old me would say, you never open the taxi door in front of me. You are a peasant. You have no manners. I would attack the identity. Now, rather than say what I don't want him to do, I change it to what I want him to do. For example, when he doesn't open the taxi door, I would say something like, when you open this taxi door, I always feel like a queen. And even if he didn't, he always rushed to do it. And he wants to do it. And it's a different form, because I'm not attacking his identity. I just communicate his behavior. Like, for example, when you don't open the taxi door, I don't feel loved. And so every time that he remembers it, he wants to do it. And same thing, we so caught up by saying, I hate when you do this, or don't do this, or don't do that. But men don't really respond well to criticism, neither us females. So rather than saying things to your partner what you don't want, just tell him what you would like and how it makes you feel. And then you will see the dynamic of the relationship will change. And also for men, if you're listening to me on this podcast, when you see your woman who is angry, please don't go away. Please stay. And just stay and don't tell her that, but think, I own your heart with my balls. This is a practice actually I've learned from Donny Epstein. So what it does, when a man looks at a woman who is absolutely crazy, one of those days of the month, and you think, I own your heart with my balls, it gives you back your masculine presence. And you stay. And she can say whatever, like you this, da 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 da. And you just stay with it and you say, I love you no matter what. When you're crazy bitch, not crazy bitch, I love you. I'm staying. There is nothing you can do to push me away. Men, magic happens. Eventually, she's got like, if you just give her that V, like we call it holding the V. So when she's crazy, you just stay there. And when you think she's done, usually she's not done. So you ask her, tell me more. And she's like, oh, and this happened, da 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 da. You just stay. And then eventually, it's like for us, for women, it's like venting. So we vent. We don't mean things personally. It's like coming and just like emptying your purse. So we just wanna basically to dump. And I understand when a man doesn't want to deal with it, but I can tell you the reward is near. You just have to stay there, tell her that you love her no matter what, and you're not going to go away. And eventually she's like, shall we have a cup of tea? That's it, she's done. And then you can ask her for anything, like for every woman. And I know that women, when they hear me, they always like their faces lit up. All they want is their man to stay no matter what, even if they're crazy, because we are emotional. We go through stages. We're in the flow. We can be crazy. We can be sexy. We can be determined. We can be all of these things, and sometimes all at once. Men are more specific. It's all about action and determined. So like women, if you want your man to stay, please praise. When he does something right, even if it's a little thing, give him an appraisal, give him the credit, give him the significance, that he's doing amazing things and you honor and you really, really love it. And and for men, it goes similar way. Just men, please give your woman a presence. Just say she's got beautiful eyes or you like her smile. You can even use it as an exercise when you look at each other and you just communicate your feelings. And it's amazing, especially during the heated argument, when you can just say, hey, like, I feel tension in my chest. And the other goes like, hey, I have, I feel like some tension. And you just like, oh, now I feel numb, or now I feel more energy, or my energy is stuck. And you just go on this. It's a technique, actually, they use it even in Meisner acting. It helps you to feel and communicate your own feelings, but it also helps you to register and to know your partner. And then it brings you a lot closer, because you're giving each other a precious gift, which is something, the most expensive thing in the world. It's our time and it's our presence.
Is there more?
I'm not venting, I'm not dumping, it's a kind of, I'm sharing. But as you can see, I'm very passionate, and I can tell you why I'm so passionate. Just look, it's right here, I'm not going anywhere.
Just by the way, everyone, she changed 3 times before the show.
Well, Bart asked me, how many outfit changes do you have? I said, can I show 4? Well, I'm still being a girl, right? I love dressing up, and I just thought that this jacket would look better.
Perfect.
So this is my name, and this is my grandfather. Oh, now you can see clearly, right?
Yeah. Wow.
My grandmother, she never married this man, but she loved him the whole time. So, but she was living in the past, and eventually she was over 100 kilos, like 120 kilos. She had sugar diabetes and she had cancer, and I believe she didn't die of cancer. I believe she died from a broken heart. because no men were never good enough for her, because she had this man she loved all these years, but his parents didn't want her, because when she was 3 years old, she put the hand on the stove and her hand got burned, and she had like a little like fat thing on her finger. So it's kind of not a disability, but it is a hand. But I love that hand so much. I was kissing it all the time since I was little. And then I remember when my nan passed away, my plane landed at 7 in the morning. She passed at 7:15. And what we thought it was cancer. And I thought, this is it. I'll learn everything about health and fitness. I became a fitness instructor, Cert 3, Cert 4, started training clients, becoming like the good commander girl, like, come on, give me crunches. So I was that. And then I realized people were getting the results, but emotionally, they kept sabotaging themselves. That's how I realized that we all know the strategy how to look good. We all know what to eat. Why don't we do it?
Yeah.
And it comes down to emotional intelligence. How do we manage our emotional state?
So
At
I
the
want
same-
I want to jump in there in a moment and get back to that, but I just wanted to add a couple of things and for everyone to kind of totally appreciate all the beautiful things that Anastasia said. But let me ask you this question first. In good relationships. No, I'm going to just say it. What Anastasia was also saying is that she's like Mother Nature, and Mother Nature is everything. It's wild, it's crazy, it's beautiful, sunset, sunrise, storms, and then beautiful blue lagoons, whatever that is, and that's just the beautiful variety and dynamics of life. That's what makes life so exciting. And then men, on the other hand, are very much mission driven, targeted. They're the protectors. And so what's interesting is that when you interview, relationships and men and women, the most important thing for women, and most people actually don't understand this part or get it wrong or say something else, but the most important thing for a woman is that she feels safe. And those are all the things that Anastasia was just sharing. But what's interesting, and the most important thing for a man, and a lot of women don't know this, is that they just want the woman to be happy. And there's a reason for that, and that is that then men feel like they've completed the mission. They feel significant. They feel like they're the protector. And so when you punish the man by criticizing him, then either he gets emasculated and then he gets small and you lose the polarity, or he's going to fight you. And so it's interesting then to appreciate the different dynamics and different needs that men and women have. And, they're just natural. They're just given. You're not going to change them. And so best thing is to learn from people like Anastasia that can coach you so that you can tap into that. Because, again, you're powerful. You're beautifully feminine. You also know how to be masculine. You understand the masculine so that you can really, really coach people. And so the one thing that I think that's also important is love and respect. Women want love first, men want respect first. They want love second, and the woman wants respect second. But that's where we're also different, because as a man, if I give respect to my wife first, it's not going to work. I just have to give her love. And I screwed up yesterday because she came up, she was all pissed off about something, not about me, fortunately, right? And then my job was to fix it. And then she got really upset with me, and she just felt not heard. And what I should have asked, and I got coached on that, is honey, what is it that you need? What is it that you want? And I think that's a key component for us guys to let the women know, look, don't criticize me. Just tell me what you need. Just exactly what you said. I feel like a queen when you open the door. Basically, you're describing your need. So proceed with your rituals and what we can do in relationships to really expand on it, because it's such a beautiful thing to hear you.
Thank you.
So share with us rituals.
So the rituals, like, that should be pretty much individual, but I think what really, I'll share with you rituals of other couples that I personally practice. So we used to be in that place when my husband, he's Cuban, and he used to raise his voice at me. And I just can't deal with a man who raises his voice at me. I'm not deaf. Like, my hearing is pretty good, so don't yell at me. But he's like, I'm passionate, I'm Cuban, like you, like that's how I talk. I'm like, no, that's not how you talk. So, and when you start this, caught up in this argument, you basically can't hear each other at all because you talk at the same time. So what we started doing, that's something like what Kate from Meat Partners shared with us. We take stopwatch 3 minutes. So when I speak for 3 minutes, he's not allowed to talk at all. Sometimes I see his eyes pop, they become red. He's like, but he can't say anything, and I say everything like honestly, exactly how I feel. And then he goes, and it was so funny. Like, the 3 minutes was done, and he's like, I'm not done. I said, but it's 3 minutes. He said, I'm not done, I need 5. I love him. All right, so sure, go for 5. So now we have this rule. I go for 3 minutes, and I'm like a man. It's after 3 minutes, I'm done. Like, he needs 5. I said, okay, I'll let him talk for 5. And it works because we love each other at the end of the day. But then when you hear each other, and then it's like, like at the end of the day, like, we don't want to be in this place. So but I would always do something crazy. I would do like that when he says something, especially when he's saying like serious things, like, in these 5 minutes, I would just start like making faces, like trying to change the state, interrupt this pattern, interrupt that energy, and it just takes him off guard. He's like, I never thought that, I meet somebody is like crazier than I am. But it's playful, it's funny, and he can see that, it's not because I don't care, I'm coming from a place of love. I just don't believe that we should stay there for too long. So I always try to make something, to interrupt it. Also, what like couples shared with me, it was hilarious. They've been together for 36 years. So every morning they go outside, and it's a beautiful, like, I asked them, I said, guys, are you living in a national park? Their backyard looks like a national park, gorgeous, with a beautiful real fireplace. So every morning at 5 in the morning, they go there, they meditate. They're also thinking about 3 emotions they want to live in the fire. They're thinking about 3 emotions they want to get from the universe for the day to go with them. And they say three things they appreciate about each other, not in general, in the present moment. And they do it every morning. So I asked them, I said, what if it's raining and your fire is not working? And they were so cheeky. They were like, then we make a fire in the bedroom and do the same rituals. So it's just like, it was beautiful to see that after 56 years together, he was looking at her with so much passion, so much admiration. They were holding hands. And I know these couples are real because I interview them, and we just created an Instagram page, Happy Couple Rituals, when we are sharing, real life stories, our stories, and people who are genuinely happy. Mind you, when I was unhappily married, my filter and my belief was that happy family don't exist. And my brain kept showing me unhappy couple to validate me, to validate my belief. Now, when I feel in my heart, and when people are lying, you can connect to my essence, you can just feel me. If I'm telling you the truth, you can also speak with Jake, see how he feels about me, how we feel about each other. And now I started seeing more and more happy couples. When a man talks about his woman and his eyes lit up, these things you can't fake. I know when people are lying to me. I know when my daughter lies to me. I can't prove it. I know she's lying. The same thing goes for adults. And so, and now I'm starting seeing more and more happy couples. In Fiji, we had a couple, they were married for 40 years, and she's like, we've been married for 40 years. And he's like, not yet. On the 17th of February, it will be 40. Just like, it was like, come on, guys, like, you spent like 40 years together, now you're counting days. So I asked them, like, what do you do? And majority of happy couples, their rituals, it's open communication. You don't have to lie. When you communicate with the feelings, when you do this, I feel this, or sometimes I say, honey, it looks like my anger, but to be honest, I'm fearful. I don't trust it, or I don't know. And that helps my man to step into his masculine and to protect me and to be there for me, rather than go into the angry state and being that person that I know is not of my value.
Right.
Also, I used to swear in English, and because I thought it's not my first language, and now I understand it's not of my value. So if you can write a value list for yourself, what do you value and who do you want to create? This woman you're looking at now, I wasn't born this way. I created her by doing every day what I do. Like 5 years ago, whatever monster I created, it was my creation as well.
Right.
And I take full responsibility for it. So what you do every day, it determines it. So now sometimes when I feel, I used to be very spiteful and I have a very sharp tongue, but now I catch myself. Am I being kind in the moment? Am I being of my value? And that helped me to shift my behavior and just to understand that when people are mean, when people are angry, they're suffering. They're in a suffering state. And rather than to respond to their meanness and being angry back, I send them even more love. I said, I'm so sorry you feel this way at the moment. I hope you feel better. Just giving them my presence and my time and my space.
And these are such important things to share. And so oftentimes, when we respond to situations, quite frankly, we have to check in ourselves and, how much pain or hurting or how much are we hurting, how much are we suffering, whatever term you want to use, that then causes us to react in a certain way. And, and then in these moments, not to take it personally and just kind of find out, oh, well, this person's hurting. What is it that they need? Because ultimately, you give that other person everything that they need first, you're going to get everything you want. I have a question for you, though, and because you kind of touched on it earlier in a different way. But talk to us a little bit about expectations and how that can cause problems.
Thank you for this question. It's my favorite. Very simple. Imagine right in front of me, this is my partner. And I do this exercise with majority of people, or maybe like that is better. So if this is my partner, now I put expectations on top of it. And then I feel, does it feel lighter or heavier? And then I extract my expectations. Or for example, I put my father, because usually women subconsciously, we are looking for that father figure in our partner. So, and then if I would I connect, that's what they did to me when they said, they mentioned this is your husband. I'm like, yes, my ex. And he said, now I extract your father and I extract your expectations. I'm like, wow. It felt absolutely different. It felt so much lighter. I actually felt his essence. Even he wasn't physically present with me, but I felt it. And the guy who, it was Leonid Talpis, he told me, he said, Anastasia, you never had a relationship with your husband. You had relationship, you had a response to your expectations and to your like father when he wasn't behaving like your father. So you really never felt the essence of your husband.
Right.
And I realized that it was exactly that. I was just reacting on my expectations and of him not being like my father. Crazy.
Yeah, and I think part of that too, unfortunately, is what happens too often is that you've got certain rules. Like, I've got a rule that I'm loved. I got a rule that I'm respected. I got a rule for anger. I got a rule for happiness. And within the realm of expectations, we just expect the other person to know that stuff. And it's sort of like, that ain't happening. Because the truth is that unless, it's spoken, the other person is not going to know. And this is one thing that I, remind my wife all the time. She says, look, just let me know what's going on. Let me know what you want, because, I'm just a dumb guy, all right? I'm happily admitting that. And we'll say, look, I want to do what you want, but I don't know what it is. And so no reason for me to waste my time and your time by doing the wrong thing. And so please let me know. And, fortunately, for example, coming back from Fiji, and I had a lot of fun because I picked out some gifts that I gave my wife. And I did really good on the clothes, by the way. And then but then I got some, jewelry crafts, if you will, and she didn't like them. And so, she said, no, I don't like them. Great, awesome, because no sense for her to keep that. No offense to me that, what I picked didn't suit her taste. Usually I'm very good at it. This time, I guess, I don't know, I failed at that one. But the point of the matter is like you said, you've got to be honest. You've got to share with the other person how you feel about something. Because God forbid, I'm thinking, well, that she really liked that bracelet. Next time I go somewhere else, I'm going to buy the same thing that she doesn't like. And that doesn't serve us. And so having that open communication. The only thing that I would say with this, and you guys have a very sneaky trick, at least it's one that affects me, because when my wife starts giving me her meta report, it's like blah, 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 forever, forever, forever. There's no way in a freaking million years that I can remember everything she said and respond to everything she said. I can only remember the very last thing. And so just remember that in when, we're having these conversations.
It was so funny. We had the senior leader at the Tony Robbins event, Larry, and he said, Anastasia, I got tricked. I said, no way. What happened? He's like, a woman comes to me and she says, it's not a matter of rapport. So he's like, and I'm like, yeah. And she just gives me the information. And what a matter of rapport is when a woman, like, I can talk about 10 things at the same time. Like, for example, like, I just done this event. Oh, by the way, we need to book tickets. Oh, and don't forget to pick up my daughter. And it's like all over the shop, right? And he's like, and I fully trying to concentrate because she wants me. It's not a matter of what. And I'm trying to remember a single thing. And it took me 20 minutes to realize it was a typical matter of what. So it does happen. And I know with my husband, I have to also but he's very loving about it. He's like, honey, I just can't do 10 things all the time, but let's just stick on the subject. Let's just be on one subject. And I'm like, Jesus, like, can't you speak about everything?
Well, the secret, and I learned this yesterday, is my job then is not to say, what do you need from me, or it's just to ask, what do you need? What do you need right now? Because it always does come down to that. And maybe it's she needs to feel safe, she needs to feel loved, she needs to feel supported, whatever that is. And not coming from a place of judgment or trying to fix, just give it to them, and vice versa, giving respect to the man. And I loved what you said. And one of the things that lights me up is when my wife just praises me. And, we're making a lot of shifts in our life, and it's really cool when I'm doing some things that I haven't done, for a very long time. And she says, man, you're rocking it. You're awesome. So what I'd like to hear from you now, Anastasia, is how do people get a hold of you? And what is your coaching process? We have about 2 minutes left before we sign off. But I really want to give you this time to share with us how we get a hold of you, and what's your process of coaching and books or whatever you have.
My page is now live. It's just anastasiacortez.com. Exactly like I think you can see the spelling on my screen. Also, you can connect to me on Instagram. It's anastasia.cortez_. On Facebook, Anastasia Zoe Cortez. I'm very available. I reply to all of the messages. I'm one of those. I'm so passionate. I always do, because I'm bilingual, so I speak in Russian and I speak in English. So I have happy couples rituals. It's an Instagram page with my husband when I basically share all the happy tools, everything in English, but we just started it. So, and then in my other page, it's a mix. It's Russian and English. So, but anastasiacortez.com, all information, all my biography is in English, and you can sign up whether for personal coaching or for training event, group or mastermind or subscription-based
Awesome.
live program.
And is that Cortez with a Z or an S?
No, I'm the Z girl. It's CORTEZ.
Okay.
And it's ANASTASIACORTEZ.
Great, awesome. Anything else you want to share?
Well, I just wanted to say big thank you for having me on this program. And like if you are happy in your relationship and there were some tools I haven't mentioned, please come and share with me. Let's share with the world, because my mission is for, like when my marriage was falling apart, my first one, a person asked me a question. He's like, is it how you want your daughter to live your life? And I'm like, but she thinks I'm happy. And they said, does she really? Like, do you know when people lie to you? I'm like, yep. And they're like, she will be mirroring your behavior. And I'm so passionate about my daughter mirroring my current behavior. Even to be honest, she's mirroring so far my old behavior. So like she can pass this knowledge and the wisdom to the generation to her come. She doesn't listen to me at the moment. I'm like a broken radio for her. But I'm so passionate about working with other teenagers and creating the legacy of happy couples. So if you're happy in your relationship or not happy, let's stick together. Let's build the families, and let's give our children, the beautiful tools we have and we know now, so they have their advantage and they can build the happy families.
Oh, beautifully said, and I want to thank you for that. And just remember that even if you're in a great relationship, there's always room for more. And so it's best. I mean, you'll constantly have to work on it, constantly have to grow out. That's why I have this particular ring that's a reminder for me. Anastasia, thank you so much. Robin, thank you so much. We're running out of time, but I was hoping to get some good juice from you, but we'll get that next time. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, prescription for your transformation, real people, real conversations, and real success. Talk about relationships, how to be happy, and I will be back next week. Till then.
It's time for Dr. Rademaker's prescription for transformation. Let's tap into your own authentic genius and live the life you desire.
You are now listening to
Join Dr. Rademaker